right. Sick. That was about 45 seconds of what song?
It was Air.
Air. Like Heir to the Throne, Air. H.
That's
Yeah.
not like air, like
A-I.
how you breathe.
Right. Off of Omen by Bog Wraith. Fucking sick. I love it.
It's alright. It's alright.
That's one of my favorite songs. Oh my god, we're being attacked by
Yep.
thumbtacks.
That's my fault.
No, honestly, that's one of my favorite songs on the album.
It's pretty jammy.
Yeah.
I like it.
Yeah, I like it a lot.
I remember when we were recording that one, I was pretty psyched on just like the whole feel of it and how it was all turning out.
I really like the intro.
Yeah.
I like that whiny sound. Okay, so real quick. Last time we talked about our little fucking Mount Rushmore thing.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, and of course, the second, like, pretty much we hit stop recording, I thought of all kinds of people. And I just had to go back because how did I not mention fucking Axel? Oh my god. Axel or Slash.
Yeah.
Wasn't on any of it. So
It was kind of late at this point.
It was a little late.
10:30 or whatever.
yeah, it was late. But still, like they would. Axel's one of my all-time. He's one of the only singers on the planet that's ever been known to be able to hit all 8 octaves. So, yeah, he's definitely on my Mount Rushmore. I'd probably replace, like, in terms of influencing on me, I'd probably have, as much as it hurts me to say, I'd probably have to replace Dio on it. From Ozzy, it would go from Ozzy, Dio, Bruce, and Bon to Ozzy, Axel, Bruce, and Bon. For me, in terms of what influenced me personally as an individual.
It's like I can't move
Dio
from that.
Yeah, it's extremely difficult. Maybe I'm just gonna make a new Mount Rushmore with 5 faces.
Maybe, yeah.
And I would definitely put Slash on my guitarists. Like, he's one of my favorite guitarists for sure. Between his work with Guns and Velvet Revolver.
I always think of that South Park episode where they talk about how Slash is about as real as the Easter Bunny, or like the Santa Claus or whatever. It's like, what, you didn't know Slash wasn't real?
I love that. What are you guys talking about? Also, on the last episode we did together, we were talking a lot about Battlecross. And I said I thought that they used to be a different band. That's incorrect. Battlecross has always been Battlecross. I was thinking of the lead singer Gumby's old band that was a local Flint band called IDK. And I saw them a number of times at literally places that aren't venues. They're not even venues. It's just a building that they played at. Like, it was crazy. Also, real quick, tour announcements. You know, this year's a great year for tours, heavy metal tours, especially in Michigan. I feel like almost all of them are hitting Michigan, but that does not mean that there's no room for disappointment. 2 tours have been announced since our last show. Neither of them are coming here, and I want to see them both. Dimmu Borgir is going on towards like a 4 or 5 date North American tour. None of the stops are in Michigan, sadly.
Yeah.
And fucking Ailstorm. A-L-E Storm.
Not to be confused with
Hailstorm, which I love.
Yeah, they're awesome.
Lizzie Hale is one of my fucking... Their new cover of Still of the Night by Whitesnake is one of my favorite covers of all time. It's fantastic. And they like to film a lot of their videos in Flint, so I'll always love them for that. But Ailstorm, the pirate metal band, one of my new favorites, is finally touring North America, and they're not coming anywhere near Michigan.
It's usually the way it goes.
That bums me out hard.
Yeah, I've been waiting since I heard about them to see Flesh God, and they're finally.
You're going, aren't you?
Yeah.
Fuck yeah.
Well, I mean, they've played like Summer Slaughter and stuff, and like bigger festivals or whatever, over the years. But I've never had the chance to catch them. So
especially didn't you just say you want to see them at St. Andrews?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Black Dahlia Murder, Flesh God.
Tiny little place.
Yeah. Whitechapel playing all of This Is Exile.
Oh wow.
Which is gonna be. Anyway, yeah, and then I think Black Dahlia is playing Nightbringers all the way through too.
Black Dahlia?
Yeah.
Fuck yeah,
It's only 9 songs, so I think they're playing like an extended because they're co-headlining.
You gotta put extra on there if it's only 9 songs.
And then Aversion's Crown, who are really sick, and Shadow and the Tent are on that too.
That's what, July 10th, 9th? 10th.
I'm gonna say 10th. Yeah, I just
at St. Andrews Hall.
Yeah,
that's awesome. Yeah, that'll be a really good show. I'm looking forward to. Yeah, I'm really looking forward to all the ones. Fit for an Autopsy. That's the next metal thing that I got coming up.
Mm-hmm.
So that'll be, and then like just a few weeks after that's Parkway.
Oh yeah.
So really, Fit for an Autopsy and Bog Wraith is what kicks it off for me this year, in a big bad way.
Right on.
Yeah, it's gonna be. I'm very excited.
I'm a little nervous about that show.
Why?
Like not nervous, but like I don't know, like excited and pretty anxious about it.
You guys haven't played a show in a while.
Oh,
so there's that.
Because our first one with we were supposed to play with Great American Ghost got canceled.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if I talked about that or not.
Yeah, we went over that.
Sure I did, yeah.
And now this is like the redo show for that, kind of.
Yeah. So that was supposed to be our first one of the year, but this one is turning out to be, and it's like
I'm already 4 months in.
Yeah, somehow. So yeah, I don't know. We were playing a couple new ones, few. I don't know. It's a good mix of stuff.
Yeah, you guys you told me you just decided on a set list, and it looks fantastic. So I guess I do need my stupid fucking phone for a minute. I don't like having my phone while I do these at all. I don't like knowing. I don't even like knowing if somebody's trying to contact me. It's
a little distracting.
Yeah, it's extremely distracting. Yeah. But this is the only place I have it. So, okay, so now, let's just let's dive right into Omen. I want to, because, okay, so last time we talked a little bit about it. Time before that we talked a lot about it. But now it's been out for damn near 2 weeks. I think tomorrow or Friday would be close to 2 weeks or something.
Yesterday.
Yesterday was 2 weeks. All right.
Mark, yeah.
That's, I don't know why I keep thinking it came out on a Thursday. It was on a Tuesday. Everybody's had a chance to sit with it. We introed with one of the first 45 seconds of one of the tracks called Air. And I just want to get deep on it. I want to know what's going on, because here's the thing. People can, readily look up any interview with their all-time favorite drummer and, get some good stuff. But what they can't do is find that same interview when they're just starting out. You know what I'm saying? Like, nobody really does that. So, let's fucking do it for your fans. Okay, out of the new songs that you've written, have you played any of them live?
Yeah.
Yeah. Which ones?
We've played, I'm pretty sure I said this on, I don't know, an older one, but, so when we were finishing up with Meyer, the last EP that we put out, we were starting to get, just kind of throw ideas around for the what would come to be the new one, the full length. And for the last little while, we've been playing Contract, Prophecy, and up until recently All Hail,
right, with Trevor.
The only reason we don't really play that one live is because or we kind of decided not to for at least the few shows that we have coming up. It's just like it's a guest spot kind of deal, and we had, I think at one of our last shows we had Clint from Recorruptor doing his spot. That was awesome.
He has a guest spot on your album as well.
Yeah. Yep. Yeah, it's awesome.
It's a good one.
Torment.
Guest vocalist.
Yeah.
Recorruptor, shout out.
Yeah, they're sick.
They're great guys. Okay, and so playing. So you've played 3 live. And didn't you guys play All Hail last year at Metal Fest?
Yeah.
Yeah,
I think there's a video of it.
Yeah, there is.
It's like, and that was like the really early, like, of us.
It's an early cut of that song.
Yeah.
It doesn't quite sound the same anymore.
Yeah. No, it really, I mean, like, it, and it's weird going back and like hearing, like quality differences, like from like your earlier stuff that you put out to, the most recent thing. But like that song especially, I think, had the biggest like change of.
Oh yeah.
Like all together, it just.
I mean, I didn't hear the early cuts of all, that many of the songs. Really, just that one. But yeah, that one definitely made some moves. They evolve. That's what a lot of people don't understand. Who's never tried to write a song before is that what you start with is not going to be what you finish with at all. Yeah. It's going to change a lot.
Often.
As it should.
Yeah, hopefully for the better.
Yeah.
Most of the time.
So these new songs, then, how do they compare? How do they compare in playing live to songs from the first 2 EPs? Feel any different? Is there anything different about them, from your perspective at least?
I mean, I guess like part wise, because I try to play through everything when I'm like practicing or like sitting down or whatever, just to kind of keep it fresh and stuff. And I feel like the newer stuff is quite a bit. It feels a little faster than the older stuff.
It sounds faster.
Yeah, and like it's more. God, what do I want to say? Like, so, and it kind of goes in line with listening to it back. So like when you're playing something live that you wrote like 2 years ago, there's going to be differences about it, and there's going to be things that change about it. So I think that, right now, just like playing them as they are, as far as like the newer stuff goes, it just seems to be a lot more fresh to me, which is probably why they come off the way they do, and I enjoy playing them a little bit more. So yeah, I don't know if that answered the question you were asking, but
yeah, it's just a little bit fresher. It feels good, a little bit faster. It probably feels like an upstep.
Yeah, in a way. Like because with the older stuff, I feel like there was a little more room for like just kind of like ad-libbing in certain parts, and like because I don't oftentimes like I'll keep the same body of the song and stuff like that, and like the same structure, but when we play live and stuff, I usually like to embellish a little bit more and change things up a little bit so it's not exactly the same as what you hear, and I always kind of enjoy when bands do that.
I do too.
Because it makes it more of like an actual live experience rather than just the band playing,
what you got on the CD.
Yeah.
Yeah. I like that. Hell yeah. Yeah, no, that answers that question. That's good. All right, and what, so right now as it stands in terms of, because you guys haven't played in a few months. So.
I'm trying to think when our last actual show was.
Yeah, I don't
That's bad.
I think it was, it was in December. It was in December. It was in December at Max Bar. I'm pretty sure of that. But you guys haven't played in a few months, so what, up until now, was your favorite song to play live? And what song do you look forward to playing the most on the new set list?
I've always really liked. Well, I started when we were first playing it and everything, and putting all the songs together from the first two, like what we were gonna play through and stuff. Because with the first one, when the first one was out, we just pretty much like played through all that, kind of, because that's it's all songs. We got. Yeah, it's like 5 songs or whatever, which is fills up a set most of the time, but. When we first started playing it, I really liked Shallow Grave. I always really liked the feel behind that song. It's one of our slower songs, I think, which I always really like, and that's kind of the one thing that I wish that I guess Air has it a little bit as far as like that like slower, like creeping kind of feel to it. I always like that, and I don't know, just kind of the way that it builds is cool. There's a lot of different drum stuff in it that changes the like. I don't know, it moves really nicely when you're playing it, but I don't know, I think Stitches is really good too, just because it's, from a drum aspect, it's really technical. Like there's a lot of different like fills and things that happen in it, and I don't know, it's a faster one too, so it's just fun.
So what's coming up then? What are you looking forward to unleashing on the crowd next?
Because obviously, we already have our set for the newer one, so I think that, or for the next show, or, kind of whatever, it'll probably change. But Incantation. Like, there's something about, and like, from playing it through, like, it's fairly, like, simple structurally. Like, there's a lot of things that, like, reoccurring riffs and stuff, but I feel like that could make for not only a different single, like a second single, but like it's easy to kind of like follow, I guess.
Okay.
All the way through.
Yeah, sure.
And it's like the last minute of that song, like that groove at the end of it, and the way that it fades out, especially, like, I just want to, I don't know, makes you want to fight. There's a lot of fight riffs going on in this.
Yeah, I love that song, and I agree. I like the ending of it a lot. That'll be sick.
I don't know if ignorance is the right word, but it's just got a real, like, it's got some attitude to it.
Yeah, all right, yeah, no, there you go.
It's just fun.
Fuck yeah.
I don't know.
I mean, I'm really looking forward to hearing all these live. I've been listening to them constantly, and yeah, like,
Omen's cool too. I like playing that song. Like the actual title track, not the full length, although we could probably do that at some point. I'm sure we will, yeah. I'd like to.
Well, let's see here. I only got a couple more, to be honest, but we'll go deep after. All right, so so like I said last time, listening to this album this much has definitely taught me that I don't have this. What I think I've discovered is I've always stayed kind of middle ground. I don't generally like things that are too soft in the heavy metal world, and I generally don't lean towards the most extreme. Because usually that's associated with the, like, really rapid, like, wah, 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 like,
straight, like, blast beats.
Yeah, like, you know, it's not rhythmically driven at all, which is fine. I've just never leaned towards it. But I don't, I'm finding myself, now don't get me wrong, I love the bands that I love, but I've lately been finding myself unsatisfied with the middle ground. I want to start making myself a little bit more uncomfortable and experimenting around with the more extremes, and this is definitely getting me there.
It's funny that you say that too, because we've actually had a couple of, like, comments and a couple of people I've talked to that have kind of said this, like, a similar thing.
Yeah,
and it's cool to have that. Like, you don't set out to write something that is, like, you know, for, like, the crossover kind of
cross genre.
Yeah, like, for, you know, but it's cool when it kind of happens naturally like that. I mean, that's kind of what I've been taking from it, is that it's and I've probably mentioned it before as well, I don't really remember, but it's, you know, we've gotten a lot of comments that's like, I don't like deathcore, but I like this, and this is good for deathcore, or, you know, just that there's a lot of stuff going on in it, and it's very, like, there's something kind of for everybody as far as, like, heavier music goes.
Yeah, absolutely.
Like, there's a lot of, you know,
there's a lot of variation,
influence in black metal.
I mean, and that see, because to me, at the end of the day, it's all in the same family still. Like,
yeah.
I don't generally like categorizing things because I feel like it's just trying to, like, illuminate the differences.
Yeah.
And to me, it's all one family. Mm-hmm. As long as you go into it holding that understanding that, you know, this shit goes from fucking Motley Crue and Guns N' Roses all the way to Cannibal Corpse and Norwegian black metal. It's all the same family. Even though thrash metal kind of, like, was a response to glam metal and all that. Well, guess what? Grunge was a response to thrash metal. You know what I mean? It all just goes around. But it's all the same fucking family. And at this point, I just feel like we're all in this together in a big bad way.
I mean, you can, like, I don't even really like categorizing it as anything, because I feel like that kind of pigeonholes us.
Exactly.
You know?
Musicians, artists in general, hate being categorized.
To me, it's like there's a lot of that happening, and I guess, you know, primarily, I guess you could say it's that, you know, it's a deathcore album. But I mean, at its core, I guess, but no pun intended. But I mean, I just think of it as just heavy, like,
yeah. But I would also say, though, that, I mean, as long as no one, I don't like, I'm really trying to get away from, like, disliking whole genres just based on little things. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. Like, little things. So, trying to get out more. And, damn it, this is what happens.
Talking about genres.
Yeah.
You want to categorize it, you've been trying to get out
more.
Oh,
here we go. But at the same time, you can't, You know, you can't. I do understand why I like the family tree, the heavy metal family tree made by Sam Dunn.
Yeah.
I love all his work. Like I actually want us to do. I don't really know. I've never listened to a commentary on a movie before. Like I've never listened to that special feature on the DVD or whatever, you know. So I don't really know how it's done. Like if the movie's just like playing quietly in the background and you just talk over it. I don't know. But I think one of these episodes, you and I should do that to Metal a Headbanger's Journey, because that movie illustrated how I felt more perfectly than anything else ever has.
Yeah. Oh, it sets the groundwork for, and it's weird too because it's not that old of a movie.
Not at all. Well, it's over 10 years old now, bro.
Is it?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, I guess that.
Let that fuck your mind up for a second.
Yeah. Well, maybe, I don't know. It's been a while since I've seen it and like even really looked at when it was put out, so I don't really remember. Maybe it is a little older than I think, but like no, it's a good like, you know. And it's even weird because I mean they've done like the Metal Evolution stuff, which goes even more deeper into it, and they have an extreme metal version of it or episode of it that's on YouTube. I've seen a couple of times, and that goes into like the more of like the black metal extreme death metal kind of side of it, and yeah, I don't know. I think it's a good like if you don't know anything about heavier music. And you want to like someplace to start, like that's
where you start.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, absolutely. Because before that, it was just the what was it called? The Decline of Western Civilization, Part 1 and 2, which just showed a bunch of alcoholic, drug addict people from the 80s like dying and shit. Like did not paint a pretty picture at all.
That was I never even saw it, but I've seen like segments of it and stuff because they talk about it, and that's just kind of like
that does not reflect our subculture in the slightest.
Yeah, it was a different time.
So yeah, no, but it just but I love all the work, and I understand having a need to categorize this shit because how can you can't. It's hard for someone coming in from the outside to call Poison and Cannibal Corpse the same genre. Right. It doesn't really make sense, you know what I mean?
Right.
So I get it.
Yeah.
But and it helps describe it. It helps to describe the stuff because of what I'm about to say, because of how many elements of other genres I hear happening in the songs on Omen, which I like a lot. I like the thrashy elements a lot. Especially, yeah, and I think it really fucking like gets into it. Like it really does. It's definitely an album that makes you go, wait a minute, what category does this fall into? Because I'm hearing a lot of different things here, and so that's definitely a good thing. It's a very cool thing.
I mean that all pretty much stems from us just being like, I mean we're all into. Similar bands that make this up, but I mean we've all got pretty like drastically different genre tastes and stuff, but it's all heavier for the most part,
right?
I mean everybody's got their things that they
are bringing to the table
outside. Well, yeah,
their influences, things that make them want to write and come up with what they're coming up with.
Yeah.
And you guys have just found a great way to mesh it all together really, really well.
I'm also just like happy with the way that it like the whole like drum sound on it. I know I've probably mentioned that, but like in my biggest problem is with a lot of really and you kind of mentioned it a little while ago is the super blast beat oriented 300 BPM, double bass stuff, and just like slamming the whole time, and like it's cool. It's really cool. Like I enjoy listening to it. I mean, but as far as like playing it, I've always kind of really wanted to try to mix having a lot of like, doing like putting a drum part behind something that that kind of like goes with what the music is doing.
Yeah.
Rather than just having a heavy drum part just because it's a heavier song.
Yeah.
Like I mean that might be kind of obvious, but I don't know. I just like it's not as interesting to me when you know the whole song is just like blast beats all the way through.
Right? Yeah. Like not as like engaging.
Yeah.
Kind of.
I mean, there's definitely ways that you can, you know, and there's a lot of bands that do it that are, you know, it's done really tastefully. Mm-hmm. It's kind of like, it's not full on the whole time, but it's like, you know, kind of like sprinkled throughout the songs and stuff.
I don't like, I don't enjoy hearing a new song for the first time, and like there's been times where I've literally heard something for the first time and accurately guessed almost every note that was coming next.
Kinda, yeah.
And some lyrics. Like, I was like, how the fuck am I... Like, if someone was just watching me do this right now, they would think I'm psychic. Or wouldn't believe me that I'd never heard this song before. Because I'm literally guessing the words that are coming next correctly.
It's goes with it being just kind of familiar and just being surrounded with it. Because, I do the same thing, which is, like, it's hard, like, kind of knowing the whole, like, how the whole process works, and then, like, as far as, like, you know, recordings and doing all that stuff, and, like, the whole process, and then, like, having to actually go through and, like, all right, well, I'm just gonna, like, put something on, and then you start listening for these little things. That's, like, that was probably the biggest thing that I learned from, like, you know, recording courses and all this stuff, is, like, it's so hard to listen to music normally when you're doing stuff like that, and, like,
yeah, when you peek behind the curtain,
yeah,
you see how things work. You're like, oh, I get what they did there now.
Yeah.
No, I had a similar experience. I took a class in high school that kind of went into that sort of thing, but about how they make movies.
Yeah.
But not as much as how they're made, but in terms of the structure that they're made in.
Yeah.
Like the way stories are told on film and things like that, and themes and like just different parts of cinematography basically and things like that. And ever since then, you know, it's a little bit harder for a movie to impress me. It kind of a thing.
Right. Kind of not really like cheapens it for you, but like you know what you're watching is kind of altered.
You know when it's quality.
Yeah.
I wouldn't say it cheapens it. You just know when you're looking at quality versus garbage now.
Yeah. Yeah, that's true.
And when it's not just, at the end of the day, film music is all art, so it should just be based on how you feel about it. But
right.
But yeah, I get also, it's good. It's good to have certain categories for things because you like to be able to kind of like look at it on paper, like this is why maybe I like it more than this, kind of a thing.
Well, plus it helps when you're looking for similar things.
Right.
Different bands or like movies or whatever,
Exactly. When it's in what now, I'm sure this isn't everybody, but for me personally, like my favorite movie is my favorite movie because of how it surprised me. I like the unexpected, and when the unexpected just works and makes everything click so well, that's what I like the most. So, and it's the same with music. It's like when and especially if they start off familiar, you know what I mean? Like if it starts off as something, oh yeah, I think I know what's going to come next, and then it switches, it turns on a dime on me, and then I love that too. I don't even really know what got us on that. Fuck it. I don't care.
Genres and
yeah. Well.
Lost it. I don't know. It's a good segue though.
It is a good segue because the next thing I was going to ask you about was lyrics.
Oh, okay.
Oh my god, and that was it. That's where I went back.
Weird.
Because how that whole tangent started was the way I listen to things, and I don't have the ear for it.
That's right. Okay. Yeah, you find it hard to get into other things because okay, yeah.
This is getting me into it, and my ear is also limited on. Oh my god, I feel like such a dick right now. What's your singer's first name?
Oh, Alex.
Alex, thank you. Jesus Christ. I have a hard time understanding some of the words with his vocal style. I like his vocal style quite a bit. But I do have a hard time, just because I'm not used to it. Just like anybody who picks up a Lamb of God CD tomorrow, they're not going to be able to understand it. But to me, it's crystal clear.
Yeah.
Like I can hear where he enunciates shit.
Yeah.
But in terms of the lyrics, now I haven't been able to read them yet because we don't have any word on when the pre-sales. When you guys are sending stuff out?
They were processed I'm pretty sure today.
Nice.
So, like, I wish I had a better idea on it. With these, like, ordering sites and stuff, I would like to say next week.
Okay.
I know I've said that before,
last time we said a week or two. And this
okay.
next week would be 2.
Yeah.
So, it lines up.
I'm as excited about it as
excited.
Everybody else just to have it.
I can't wait.
Yeah.
Because I also mainly because I want to read the lyrics now.
No.
The thematic elements behind the album are like cult. This is cult themed.
Yeah, more or less.
More or less.
Yeah.
What do you mean more or less?
I mean, there's different. I mean, This is a concept album, right? It's
Okay.
Loosely, it has like I was saying, it has like a lot of like reoccurring themes and like different things that happen, but a lot of it's about we've got songs. Torment's pretty much I mean it's about. I mean if you kind of read it, it's about like doctor. From like a medical like standpoint, it's about I guess more or less like experimenting on people for your
Really, because I haven't read it, so I don't.
Okay.
I don't know. Do you have them?
Yeah.
Yes.
Do I have them?
Okay.
In the band, do I? What do you?
Okay. No. Let's just keep. Well, I didn't know if you had them like on your phone.
Yeah.
I knew you had them.
Yeah.
Of course you have them.
That's what I was saying. Like, talking about.
Okay, so let's talk about Torment.
So, welcome to the last moments of your life, foreshadowed by the nameless faces, fear mimicked in the eyes of the damned strapped to the table, beginning our experiments.
Nice. Okay, so this is from the perspective of a doctor, a deranged doctor.
Yeah. I always really liked, because Alex, and this is the song that Clint's on, from Recorruptor, and they do this kind of like crazy back and forth thing on it. I always really liked the line towards the end. So as a martyr came from our cause to prolong our reign, he said unto me as my vision fades into a deathly trance, and the terror in their faces. Dispose of the failed test subjects, bring the next recruits, drown all the disgusting redirects, drill down deep into the roots of his brain. So it's pretty much it's kind of it's very
sick.
The thing that I really like about all of the lyrics on it is it's how like visual it is.
Yeah.
It really like paints a picture, which I feel like is hard to get across when you're just listening to it. And that you could say that with a lot of heavier music, because I feel like a lot of times it's so like it's heavy for the sake of matching the music, but oftentimes there's a lot going on in it.
Oh, yeah. Definitely always read your lyrics, people.
Yeah.
Like even I understand Lamb of God crystal clear, but there are some songs that I don't, and I'll go back and I'll check it, and I'll be like, oh my that's one of the best damn lines ever written. Like, holy shit. And that's the other thing, and that was something else real quick, like the songs that you have 2 singers on, the 2 songs that they guest on. Another issue I'm having is deciphering between the voices.
That's fair.
Now you put a song with Randy and Dez on it, and there are people that don't listen to heavy metal that think it's the same guy for sure.
You're right.
But yeah, I'm still kind of, I'm still working on it. I'm working on it, and I will get there. But like that vocal style, I'm just not as used to it. You know what I mean? But it's good, and I've been enjoying it. Okay, so now more about lyrics. Because there's honestly just questions I have. So that doctor one, is that just that, or is it like a doctor in the cult? Like, is this like a moving story arc? No. Or is it just kind of like here's an image into this aspect from my point of view kind of a thing?
So there's a lot of it's to a point, like you're looking a little deep into it.
All right.
But you're like so the overall theme of it, is, I mean, there's a lot of it, but it all kind of centers around, like cult, you said it a bunch of times, but like, there's like, like sorcery, kind of like witchcraft type, topics, and then, the overall kind of like, The concept of control is really strong throughout the whole thing.
Okay.
Control and kind of like overthrowing, higher powers and things like that. So, it's kind of everywhere, but all kind of, comes full circle to the same, three, couple different topics.
Central themes. Yeah. Okay. And on any of the songs, do you do backing vocals? I know you used to.
I would like to live, but as far as on the full, on the recordings of it, I didn't do any.
Okay.
So that's all Alex.
What about now? Are there any lyrics, any songs that you, in terms of the lyrics that you wrote?
I wrote the first half of Retaliation. Yeah, first half of Retaliation.
What's give me some of your favorite lines from that song?
Oh man,
because nobody's heard these yet. Like people like me who don't have the ear for it yet don't know what the words are yet. So let's hear them.
Well, I kind of wrote or started off, because obviously you watch the news. There's a lot of stuff going on as far as just like government stuff, and there's just a lot of corruption and things. So I kind of wrote it in like through like the eyes of somebody kind of like watching all of this happen.
Okay.
Presence of true evil, the weekend will turn a blind eye towards the truth. And then I saw the sun fall from the sky. The day the world fell to its knees, contorting and twisting like the serpent constricting life from its prey.
That's brutal.
I don't know. I was kind of like that, like the, talking more so in like symbolism and imagery.
Yeah.
As opposed to just coming out and saying like, oh shit's fucked.
Yeah.
Pretty much,
Yeah.
And then toward the middle of the song, it's more kind of talking like, the overthrowing of it and stuff, and sever the serpent's head, cleave into what's left of it, slam his head upon a stake. Our time is now, resistance will rise. A clenched fist, built. Okay, well, there's a typo there. A clenched fist built in stone, bludgeoning the beast who confine us. Our bodies broken, or our broken bodies driven by undying spirits, leading us to our salvation. And then the little sample that's at the end of that, so Julian was, I'm not sure if he was like mixing it down or if he was like putting the finishing touches on it, but he sent us a video of that, and for some reason, like the first thought in my head was the old Halloween theme.
Oh yeah.
Like slowed down.
Yeah.
So I went on YouTube and I looked it up and like slowed it down and I was like, yeah, that's pretty close to the way it is, but like no, it's like it's cool because it goes back to like so like just after the song goes in, when it goes into the I saw the sun fall from the sky.
Yeah.
That line, it's kind of like the rhythm of it or the pattern of it is the same that the outro is on.
Oh, okay.
So it kind of like, I don't know,
circles it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Finishes the song, and like if we can find a way, and I'm sure we will at some point, because I'm pretty sure this is the longest song that we have on it. But I would think that using that for that song live, and then, I don't know, I just think it would be awesome.
That would be sick live.
Yeah.
Hell yeah.
Because, I don't know, just all the new ones really like build a really cool atmosphere that
I agree.
We can do a lot of stuff with live.
The album has a very specific feel throughout the whole thing. It does have an atmosphere on its own. What song has your favorite lyrics in it on this? Or do you have?
I like Sigil.
Okay.
That seems to be one that it's been, well, let me see. So yeah, of the three, the three that have been out, Contract, Omen, and Prophecy have been probably doing, have the most listens on it, I guess, and that's probably because they're the first couple that you hear on the album. But Sigil's been something that people have kind of been bringing back up and saying that, that's their favorite, or, Incantation. So I guess those two. But yeah, I would say...
In terms of the lyrics?
Yeah, either Sigil or... I don't know, like it's hard to pick just one of them because, like, there are like lines and stuff that I like in all of them.
Mm-hmm.
But I would say probably as a whole, man, either sigil or treason.
Give us a couple lines of sigil.
I mean, like, I don't know, the whole thing, because alright, so I guess lyrically, what we were talking about.
Yeah. What's sigil about? What's the song about?
More so just, like, overthrowing.
Okay.
It's bringing together people, like, alright, so...
And real quick, too, because one thing we gotta do better at is contextualizing things, right? So not everybody probably knows what a sigil is, right?
So okay, that's kind of what I was afraid of. I don't really.
We're not allowed to assume everybody knows everything.
Okay. Yeah. Plus, I'm really like I'm like generalizing things. So that's like real quick, just to kind of like go like off record or whatever. Like that's one of the hardest parts about doing this.
Yeah.
Is like either like I'll start saying something and then like like we'll talk about it and then we'll go on to something else and then like I'll either think of something I could add to it or I'll be like I'll listen back to it later and be like that's totally wrong, like that's not at all what I should have said or explained it. Like
yeah, it is yeah, we're learning.
Or like like you'll say something and then a couple days later you'll hear it back and be like because like obviously your thoughts and your things change and
that's why I've decided I'm gonna start writing those things down, just like I did at the top of this one because I was a fucking idiot and forgot about Axl goddamn Rose.
Yeah.
And the IDK and stuff like that. Yes, I mean you know what, it's okay though. It's perfectly fine.
So anyway. So
sigil, what's it about?
A sigil is...
Or what it is.
It's a symbol considered to have magic power.
Sick.
So, and I always really like this song. It's in kind of like I think it's like probably, the first half of the song. Swearing allegiance to its all-controlling power, praising the pain for the sacred scars it leaves, a rite of passage into our ranks. Reborn with the strength of titans, marks of exile glow in the darkness, more than mortal golems of brimstone, forging the blade of our sword, an army to rule over, hungering for the foe's entrails, leaving behind nothing but ashes.
Sick.
So it's very like that's kind of what I mean as far as like the visual aspect of it.
That's very imagery. Who wrote this one?
Alex, and I gotta give a lot of credit to him for just he's written all the lyrics up to this point.
He's the main lyric writer.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, we all contribute.
Absolutely.
Because we all have different ideas and stuff, and somebody will like have something that they wrote out and be like, oh, that's that's sick or whatever. Can I use that in in this or in the new song or whatever? And so we'll kind of go into it like that, so everybody gets like fair. But at the end of the day, he's got to sing them. So he's got that kind of comes down to that, and like he's really good at like if anything, if it comes down to being like, oh well I like this, but I think that maybe it could do this, or I think that this phrasing or this section would work better, so so it's collaborative, but at the at the end of it, he pretty much kind of figures out what works for him the best.
Yeah.
So
especially with that vocal style, it's very unique.
Yeah.
Fuck yeah. Well, I look forward to reading the rest of those for sure. I'm not gonna sit here and make you read every guy on the album, but
no,
you want to do at least a couple more? Just highlight your favorite ones. Go through your favorite ones. Tell me what the songs are about.
So I've been mentioning I really like Incantation.
Yep, that's the second one you said sigil in this.
And like it's more so the way like with when you're reading through it by itself without any of the music, like it takes on a whole different feel to it when you're hearing it with it, because like just with what the music is doing with the vocals and stuff, it very that helps kind of enhance it a little bit more.
Definitely.
So I always liked it's about the middle of the song.
Well, what's the song about?
Oh,
Incantation.
So an incantation is a series of words set as a spell or a charm, and so it's towards the end of it. There's a line about the clergy placed its hands upon my scalp, hearing searing of my flesh, trial by hellfire, sentenced to fight in their armies. So if you take that and then with what an incantation is, it's it's about pretty much like recruiting or whatever,
Okay.
So because you got, I felt the incantation leave my being, my sights restored, my body covered in blood, encircled by warlocks muttering their sorcery. Chains of mysticism bind me, pulling me to my knees. So it's it's deep. Like it's
sick. I just love the fact that the word warlocks is on the album.
He kind of
Dio
slips it in there, dude.
Slips it in there.
Like I missed it the first couple of times
demons
too.
And dragons.
Yeah.
Yeah. I like it. I like it a lot.
Palms burned by the embers, black smoke filled my vision, blinding me of my own atrocities, shattering bones of my enemies, crunching loudly, inhuman screams resonate from their corpses.
Jesus Christ. Love that.
Yeah,
We'll have to... Oh.
There's so many like one-liners especially, I think. Like, so that there's a section in Omen. Silence those who stand against my will, lead them to their treacherous fate, make an example of our enemies, drain their blood till the cup runneth over, engorging ourselves on spoils of war, the omen of the end.
Jeez.
One of the people chosen to lead the lemmings off the cliffs.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
All right.
Oh, like, so I hope I'm doing a justice to how these songs are, because it's pretty like deep subject matter, but it's also like I didn't write all the lyrics, so as far as explaining it, it's
Fair.
it might be different than how Alex would explain it, or how
Fair.
Any of the rest of us would try to interpret it. So
well, we would love to hear from all of them. Maybe we will one day.
Working on it.
Okay, so no, that's exactly how I wanted to hear some lyrics. I got to. Here's a taste, people, of what's to come in your CD booklets. All right, yeah, I got another one here. So this is more. Okay. So we've definitely sort of touched on this before, but not this specifically. At least through this kind of lens. You're essentially an up and coming. You guys are an up and coming right now local band, basically. Just released your first full length album. Having granted, you are, I would argue at least, you've already managed to pull some things off that most bands in your position don't. So that's really awesome. So I feel like you kind of have a unique perspective, at least. Most people in your position should probably have a pretty unique perspective on how they feel about the current kind of like metal and what's going on. Mm-hmm. So like, I kind of got the idea of this question from something else yesterday, but because Battlecross, I feel like Battlecross kind of has the same like speed and velocity and stuff like that this album has, and that Omen has. And when you look up Battlecross, they're kind of like categorized as almost like thrash metal, basically. And like I said already, I hear a lot of thrashy elements in Omen for sure. So do you feel that way? Do you like when at any part when you were writing drums, did you feel like, oh, it's a little thrashy? Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
And admittedly, I kind of pushed for that a little bit.
Yes.
Because like, I don't know, we've always kind of had elements of that.
Yeah.
Whether it's just from the guitar work, or just like a section of the drums. Like I've always, back before I was even in bands, I was really into thrashy music, thrash metal and stuff, and more so like the heavier side of it. I really liked a lot of Slayer.
Perfect. Real quick, and for anybody who's listening to this, when we're saying thrash metal, if you don't know, think Slayer, Metallica, Megadeth, Anthrax, the big four. Who else?
I'd go a little further with it and say like I don't know, like
Pantera. They're like 90s thrash.
Yeah,
they're a little more groove though, I guess.
But as far as like when I like what I was listening to when I it was a lot of like Toxic Holocaust.
Yep.
And, like,
oh yeah.
Like like Skeleton Witch.
Yep.
Like early Skeleton Witch I really liked. And I think it was more like because they had at the time they had a really like blackened kind of element to it. It was like black and thrash sort of. More so with their first couple.
Who's the band that's with Lamb of God and Slayer on tour? Trivium or Testament?
Testament.
Yeah. They're thrash,
so
right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So, and god damn it, what's that other one? Dying Fetus? No, Nuclear.
They're more
Holocaust.
Toxic Holocaust.
Toxic Holocaust. Yeah. What about them?
Yeah.
That's one of the ones I was thinking of. That
because they had I'm pretty sure it was An Overdose of Death when that came out. It's got a couple like wolves on the cover of it and stuff. And it's weird because way back I saw them with first time I saw Black Dahlia Murder, it was with them, Skeleton Witch, and Toxic Holocaust. So that was like awesome. That was those were three of the bands that I've been listening to for a while, and so, but yeah, I mean, because that like I was saying, I feel like I kind of pushed for that in a way as far as it to have those couple elements, because like I don't know, I always just enjoyed just playing that style.
Yeah. Excellent. No, I'm glad to hear that because it kind of goes perfectly then.
Plus, sorry.
No, go.
Plus, like they're especially with more current music, or more like current heavier music, I feel like, there's always going to be a thrashy element to extreme music. It's mostly just for like at least in my eyes, for like like the drum patterns and stuff.
Yeah.
And just kind of like the feeling of it. It all kind of comes back to the roots of it.
Mm-hmm. So if we were to like turn the clock back, basically, it kind of a lot of it kind of kicks off with early Slayer and Metallica, and they get big right before the 80s.
Mm-hmm.
And the 80s comes and things get a little bit more melodic, and people probably thought thrash music was over until it kind of came back around a little bit in the 90s with Pantera and like there was another really big one from that time period that I'm not thinking of right now for some reason.
It's like thrashy,
like
thrashy kind of.
I can't remember, but then in any case, it kind of came back then, but then it kind of went away again until fucking around 2004 or 5ish when Lamb of God really broke through. We got things like Lamb of God, you got Devil Driver, Shadows Fall.
Oh yeah.
Things along those lines, and
Arch Enemy had a fair amount of thrash and like influence, more so their earlier stuff.
But they also had this other element which puts them into a different category called groove metal, which is probably my least favorite term besides glam. But it is what the category they're in, so okay. They're groovy, baby. A little bit of evidence of groove mixed in, and that's in that you could argue there's little, each incarnation of it has some new elements, definitely. And that's what the most, one of the most recent ones. So now here we are, like it seems like the pattern is around every 10 to 20 years if you look through history, that seems to be the cycle.
What do you mean, like where it's more like relevant or like not relevant, but like
where there's a lot of movement in the industry, you know what I mean? Where there's a lot, there's something big and upcoming.
Oh, okay.
Okay,
yeah.
So now let's go to now. And what would we say is on the horizon right now? Like, what are we looking at? Maybe what's a new element that might be... Because right now I really feel like there's nothing. I feel like right now, like, it kind of goes... There's a lot of, like, nostalgia.
Mm-hmm.
But in terms of, like, new and upcoming acts, I at least have not found any yet that like have really fucking maybe go, oh wow, that's what they're tweaking it just right to where they might be the next one or something like that. And I'm not, man, it's so hard because like the next one, what the next, you know what I mean? Because like there's and how do you judge how big a band is? Record sales, influence? Like, I don't know. Like, it's hard. It's a difficult thing to do.
Yeah.
But I will say there do seem to be specific bands that sort of carry the torch for the generation. Slayer, Pantera, Lamb of God currently.
I'd put Slipknot up there.
But not. I'm saying in this kind of more specific genre.
Oh, okay.
The genre that seems to have that glass ceiling of never being able to break through on the radio because of how extreme the music still is.
Okay, right. Okay. I know what you're saying.
Yeah, like something because a popular thing to say online is Lamb of God's the next Metallica, but how are we judging that? Because Lamb of God will never sell the same amount of records as Metallica, partly because they don't make records anymore. So there's that, you know?
Yeah.
And keep that in mind. Metallica sold more when people had to get up, go to the fucking store, put the shit on a big-ass vinyl.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? Now they don't even make them anymore. Everybody just downloads shit. So, you know, it's like but to me, I kind of agree with the sentiment in terms of sound. Like, they're kind of the benchmark at the moment. Like, of what, like the king version of this sound is that, to me. You know what I mean? So, like, I guess, I don't know. What do you think about all this? What would you, is there anything you see it go, is there any way you see it going? Do you, like, what's going on? What's going on out there from the perspective of someone who's kind of in that position as an up-and-coming artist?
Okay. I mean, I would say, for one thing, it's way easier for a band or anybody really that's trying to make music and trying to, you know, do something creatively that, you know, the internet is definitely
it's your best friend.
Yeah, to say it, you know, put it simply, like, you know, there's a lot of stuff that we can do now, you know, and that, you know, that people can do now as opposed to, like, you know, even like 5 or 10 years ago.
This podcast, for example.
Yeah.
Like,
you know, there's no longer really a need for, you know,
the middleman.
Yeah, or like, you know, bands to get, like, you know, gigantic, like, go. I mean, you know, and there's always gonna be that, you know, that option for people. You know, if you have a band that, you know, like, you want to go and, like, record, you know,
that's
super well, like, you know, produced and, like, paid for and, like, put together with, you know, with everything. But I mean, you could also argue that, you know, like, the quality is about, you know, it varies, but there's a lot of stuff that was recorded in, like, basements and, like, you know, and, like, you know, bedrooms and stuff that sounds as good or better than, you know, $1,000, you know, not $1,000 albums, but, like, you know, like, the higher, like, I guess AAA, like, bands or, like, super, like, high up, you know.
Well, in my opinion, Omen sounds better than other bands that I've heard their first album that they put out, which were recorded in professional studios with professional producers. I think Omen sounds better produced than some of those that I've heard. So I agree with you right there. It makes your point.
I mean, but as far sorry.
No.
As far as, like, where I see it going, I mean, that's really kind of the impending question. Like,
quick side note though, I just thought of, based on something you just said, another thing to consider in this question is how do we determine what big is? Because if record sales are irrelevant, then what are we taking into account? We're talking about, like, purchased downloads. What about illegal downloads? How about views on things like YouTube and Spotify and this and that and, like, listens or whatever? Like, I think to be fair across the board, you have to take those things into account because there are artists out there right now selling out large venues that I've never fucking heard of because they got big on YouTube.
Oh,
and that's it. You know?
You see that all the time, especially with, like, not just, you know, bands or anything, but just, like, musicians in general. Like, as a whole, with, you know, it's like it's so easy and accessible to be able to, you know, okay, so I wrote this song, you know, either it's an original or it's a cover, and, you know, I have video of it, so I'll throw it up on YouTube and tag, you know, a couple people, and before you know it, you know,
100,000 downloads.
Not only has the band or the artist that you covered heard it or can see what you've done, but so can everybody else, you know.
Mm-hmm.
And if it's good enough, then, you know, who's to say that, you know, you can't get picked up or whatever. I mean, that's kind of, you know, you see it happen pretty regularly. More so with, like, you know,
and it's happening in every fucking aspect. The fucking the YouTube guy Kickalicious, who could kick footballs crazy distances and in small targets and stuff like that, was almost on the Detroit Lions. Like, it's happening in every aspect. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. Well, it's easier to promote yourself, and, you know, if you, I mean, and people see if, you know, if you're really any good or not. Like, people can see through that and decide that.
Right.
You know, so if you're really any good at what you're doing, then, you know, and that's something that I've kind of always, you know, not saying that I'm like super great or, like, you know, like god tier, like, fan, you know, anything like that, but, like, you know, if I've always kind of thought that, like, you know, if I'm doing something and I feel like I'm fairly, you know, at least a little bit more, like, well, better at it than the average person.
Yeah.
Like, you know,
I don't think I'm someone who listens to this shit, and I don't understand how a drummer writes drum parts. I don't get how you do what you do. I don't get that process in your head. So yeah, no, definitely.
Yeah,
like, if anyone's really thought about it,
yeah,
it's different than any other instrument.
And if kind of like, you know, what I was getting at was, you know, like, if you're really any good and if you're truly into what you're doing, you know, people see that.
Mm-hmm.
And that's kind of what
I think a giant thing you just said right there was, if you're really into it, if you're really passionate about it, and people can hear that, even if it's not great, I think they'll still like it because they can hear the passion.
Yeah. And that's, I've been trying to listen to that and, you know, kind of take that and apply it to, you know, a lot of other stuff. And that's actually kind of got me into a lot of different bands and, like, music and, you know, just things in general. Is like, you know, at the end of the day, it's all somebody, like, how can you say that, like, something is less than, like, what it is just because it's not, like, what you're into.
Right.
I mean, like,
exactly.
If it's good, and if, you know, then it's like, you can't dispute that. Like, if somebody put their time and effort into something, and they're, you know, like, it might not necessarily be good to me or to any, you know,
but it's good to
somebody, like, people, but yeah, and somebody took the time to get at that and to, you know, to put themselves out there. And, you know, I feel like we're kind of seeing a lot of that, you know, with musicians and, you know, bands and, you know, other artists and stuff, is, you know, truly honest, like, passionate people that are trying to get out what it is that is stuck inside their head, I guess, you know. And
especially in this genre,
yeah,
like, in the most extreme music is also the most honest usually.
Yeah. And that's not just talking about, like, the heavier stuff, you know. There are, like, thousands and, you know, millions of songs and, you know, artists that come out every day now,
Oh,
just
God,
about,
yeah.
you know, you could put out a song tomorrow, and next thing you know, like, you're everywhere.
Playing late night.
Yeah.
You never know. Yeah, it's pretty much what happened to fucking Bieber? Wasn't he a YouTube star at first? Yeah.
I think he's like Usher or something. I think I remember hearing, like, saw a YouTube video of him playing guitar and doing like a cover, and then like 5 years later, you know, here we are or whatever. Yeah. So.
Yeah. That's crazy. That's fucking wild.
But it also, like, you know, you can tell when somebody's being passionate about it, and you can also tell when somebody is just trying to make a buck at it and trying to, like, you know, capitalize on something like a trend that's big, which is also why it's so hard to get into newer stuff. Because
I will,
it's so saturated with a lot of either the same thing or, you know, and I'm not saying anything specific.
No.
But, you know,
I can't even give an example. Like, I got nothing.
Yeah. And that's.
But I know what you mean.
Yeah, and especially with like, you know, like modern deathcore, I guess, is probably the biggest. Like, you know, you could turn on like Spotify or like Pandora or something to a deathcore station, and you'll get, like, you know, your core, like, you know, your Whitechapel and your Suicide Silence and all the bands that kind of like started everything, and, you know, you'll get a good mix of that for a while, and then, you know, you'll kind of, like, you might hear 5 bands that you've never heard of that, you know, if you don't know any better, sound pretty, like, identical, and like, you know, or have similarities to them that, you know, you can't really tell one song from the next. I feel like there's a lot of that going around, you know, too, which is why it's so hard to find the next gigantic. I think it comes down to quality and not so much like popularity. I mean, I don't really follow, you know, current popular heavier. Well, I don't know.
Well, because that's the thing.
Kind of backtracking, but
no. Well, that's the thing, though, is that, like, I think you're right. It's just about a certain sound, and you kind of just know it when you hear it. I had a very similar reaction the first time I heard "Laid to Rest" as to Master of Puppets. Very similar.
Yeah.
And
you kind of hear it, and, like, you something about it is like.
And this was when "Laid to Rest" came out. This is 2005.
Yeah.
So this is like just at the beginning of them doing things like going on national tours. They'd already been playing for like 10 years together. You know what I mean? And they fucking. That's right when they were starting. So was Master of Puppets. Sort of. They were pretty deep in. There were a few albums in. Well, so was Lamb of God. So
yeah.
There's a very specific, like, thing to the sound, you know what I mean? I can't really pinpoint it right now for some reason. I just kind of like the feel it gives you. The specific feeling that's probably what it is right there.
Yeah.
Yeah, if we're not counting, save for Metallica, because they're the only ones. As long as we're not counting bands that, like, can't seem to get above the level that, like, Lamb of God is at, and Lamb of God can't even seem to get above it. If we're just talking them, I don't see it being a band that uses clean vocals ever, because I kind of feel like half the reason for doing that is to get through that glass ceiling. Maybe not, like, if you start out, that's what you're influenced by and that's what you want to sound like. I get that. But like you were just saying, there's a lot of bandwagon bands out there, and I feel like that's kind of like the drive for it. You can hear the difference, I think, a lot of the time. But
yeah. To me, and especially with that kind of thing, I think it's all because, like, you can. Both, like, you and I especially have gone back and forth about this, you know, about this song specifically, this song or a set of songs that there's cleans in. As far as, like, Lamb of God songs, I wasn't a part of any of the writing or any of that stuff. I wish I could have been. That would have been crazy. But, like, you know, I kind of feel like with everything that was happening with with obviously being incarcerated in Prague and stuff, and that whole,
Randy Blythe?
Yeah, that
when
whole,
he went to jail?
Yeah.
For bullshit?
That whole thing, I feel like maybe it was inspiration from being in such a drastically different place.
Oh, I'm not suggesting that they're a bandwagon and they're trying to do that.
Right, yeah.
Right.
But what I'm trying to get at is, like, okay, so you brought up Ashes, talking about,
Ashes of the Wake.
Yeah. Talking about, back, 2004, obviously there wasn't, like, they were still just making really heavy music and stuff, and they still are. There's a lot of, time in between both, because, like, that came out in 2004.
4? I thought it was 5.
Yeah. So it was 2004, and then, so, like, 10 or 12 years later, this happens and stuff, and, it's a drastic change, and I feel like there are a lot of bands that do that kind of, like, change their tone on it because it fits what they're doing more.
I get that.
Like, it fits,
Yeah.
But also, kind of going back to what you were talking about, just to do it just to do it because every other band is just, it's
Well, I'm just saying I don't think that band that uses clean vocals there's a sound that comes with just clean vocals. There's a intensity that's not there because of clean vocals, which is fine, and sometimes that's great and better, but I don't think that the next torch carrier after someone like Lamb of God is going to have that, is all I'm saying. I could be totally wrong, but I feel like we've seen enough bands that do both in the same song to make that assessment. If someone was going to do it, it would have been someone like a Five Finger Death Punch or something like that. And they're just not. So they're doing their own thing. So
and it's hard too because it kind of goes back to the originality of what's going on.
Yep.
And
yep.
I feel like it's a really experimental time.
I do too.
For a lot of bands because, I mean, you can only really play and write the same thing so many times.
Yep.
So I feel like it's at a point where everybody's kind of like, all right, well, we like this, and maybe we're trying to go for this kind of sound this time around, and like just kind of experimenting and doing different things, not so much to kind of like break the mold of what's going on, but nobody's really found that like next like sound or like
I think it's an ingredient issue almost. Like think about it, like so each incarnation has had a sprinkle of something else in it, and the most recent thing is like the groove thing. So what's the next sprinkle? What's that next combination? You know what I mean?
Yeah, I don't know.
Of originality that we haven't kind of like struck on yet. It'd be interesting. I don't know. It's more so from like a deathcore standpoint, but I've really noticed in the last couple of years there's definitely been a build for like the whole blackened deathcore, like or like thrashy heavier bands with black metal influence, and bands trying to like combine sounds instead of trying to figure out just one that works. Yeah.
Is kind of the way that, or I mean older bands like that kind of paved the way, or either coming back or releasing new stuff, or like doing like these one-off tours where they're playing select albums or select things that are kind of like,
yeah, like I said, there's a lot of this nostalgia stuff going on right now. I don't know. I just there was I was watching an interview yesterday from, I think, it was an interview with Chris Adler, the drummer from Lamb of God, and it was a Sam. I think it was on Lock the Horns. Sam Dunn. Shout out to that YouTube. Yeah. Go. What YouTube is that?
The
show's Lock the Horns, but
I'm pretty sure it's I want to say it's like Banger TV.
Banger TV. Yep. Go subscribe to that shit immediately. It's nothing but gold. He was interviewing Chris, and they showed a clip from like the thrash metal episode of Metal Evolution with Kerry King, part of that interview, and Kerry King said something interesting. It was like when Lamb of God, he said when Lamb of God kind of like came out and I first heard them, he's like, it was kind of like a kick in the ass. Like, we'd been doing the same thing for a while. We hear this, and it's like, oh, we got to kind of like...
Yeah.
We got to go back. He said literally, we got to go back to what we were doing. Instead, you know what I mean? Yeah. So it kind of like came for... So I just wonder, like, who's going to give Lamb of God a kick in the ass? You know what I mean? What does that look like? You know? I don't know.
Huh. Yeah.
Not to say, and I don't think, I mean, maybe they feel, I don't know how they feel, but I certainly don't think anything that they're doing is stagnant at all.
Well, I mean, you could, because, like, they're on 6 or 7 albums now, at least.
At least.
Like, you could, I mean, it's weird, too, because you can see, like, a weird, like, kind of small evolution, like, when they first started.
I think you can see a gigantic evolution.
Well, yeah. I'll try to, like, I don't know.
From Burn the Priest to now?
Yeah. But that's what I mean, is like, okay, so you got, you know, they started off a little more raw as far as, like, you know, with the Burn the Priest stuff and with New American Gospel, and then kind of went into Palaces.
As Palaces Burn.
Yeah. That was a little more, you know, a little more thrashy, a little more, like, I guess, like, with the time, like, you know, with a lot of, like, the metalcore bands were kind of doing that, you know, that sort of style. You know, you had Killswitch around the same time with, I'm pretty sure Alive or Just Breathing was out at the time. It was I think it was either that one or End of the Heartache, which came out, or no, I think that was out with Ashes. So it was kind of like that same, so you can kind of, you know, so with the whole metalcore thing happening, that was kind of bigger, and then they kind of, like, with Sacrament, I feel like was when they really kind of went off in their own direction and kind of, like, further.
That's the first one that really sounds like that.
Yeah. And ever since, and, like, even that has some, like, some not necessarily like black metal, but, you know, it's more like atmospheric elements to it.
Yeah.
You know, so, and I guess, well, Wrath and Resolution were a little more, I don't know.
They're a little more concept-y.
Yeah.
For sure. Definitely.
Yeah. But yeah, I mean, I don't know. I feel like it's, I don't know, as far as like gateway bands, guess as good as mine. Yeah. I don't really know
Not
who
really
the next
gateway bands, but like,
yeah,
I don't know, like just the next torchbearer, I guess. Like,
yeah.
I didn't think that we'd have any kind of answer. Just like maybe flesh out something. Like I hadn't considered the idea of clean vocals being involved before now. So, yeah.
I mean, you've got your I don't want to use the word like your core bands in each genre, like in each like subgenre. So like, you know, you could say like most or each of those has had some kind of like reforming since it started. So like, you know, with Lamb of God, that was more, they were around the more like metalcore era, I guess. They're not, I wouldn't say they're a metalcore band, but they were around in kind of that, you know, when it was first, you know, Killswitch and God Forbid and like Trivium doing that kind of sound, and then it's kind of evolved to what it is now. And I mean, I'm not really like super into like what the state of like metalcore is, you know, right. As LA Dying and that kind of, you know, and then it formed into what it is now. But you could also say that for, you know, like deathcore, because it started with Whitechapel, and well, to me at least, you know, Whitechapel, All Shall Perish, Suicide Silence, and God, there's one more, like Carnifex, I guess. I would put them as like the big four of deathcore. And then like it's kind of moved on to what it is now, and you know, with like, you know, you got Thy Art Is Murder and you know, like Lorna Shore and those bigger bands that are coming up and kind of like forming it into, you know, the next wave of, you know, deathcore and you know, even with like death metal, because it evolved from like, you know, Cannibal Corpse and bands of that, like what's another like really solid death metal, like traditional death metal, I guess, like Hate Eternal.
Carcass.
Yeah. Well, they
were one of like the founders, kind of.
Yeah.
So what was the other one? 6 Feet Under. The one that Chris Barnes.
Yeah. I would put that as more like, I don't know. I think that Cannibal was more influential than 6 Feet Under.
Sure.
Yeah, I was saying like
but he
bands
started Cannibal, didn't he?
Yeah. Well, that's what I was saying. Like, you know, because I mean that was out when, you know, like the Bleeding and you know, like Gallery of well, he wasn't a Gallery of Suicide, but you know, that kind of like made it so that more current, heavier like death metal bands have, it's like that's like your staple. Kind of like, so I feel like we're seeing movement in each genre by itself, not necessarily so much like one big like, you know, thing that's coming out that's be the next gigantic thing, the next big thing, next, I don't know. Yeah, I don't know, that's
the next Slayer.
Yeah
basically.
I don't know, I see it like as kind of like that, like segmented rather than as a whole.
I see that. That's interesting. Look at the subgenres and what's going on there.
Yeah, because I mean, there, you know, I mean, and even that is kind of limiting sometimes, because like, you know, genres, I feel, especially like subgenres, when you get down to categorizing it, it's all subjective.
Oh yeah.
Like there are hardcore bands that I think of as hardcore that other people are like, no, that's like thrash metal, or that's like, you know, it's like, I don't know, I hear it as thrash, and I hear it as, you know, kind of what I know it as, but it might not mix with what it actually is, or like, you know, it gets really up its own ass a lot of times.
And who's making up these subgenres anyway? Like, who names them?
Well, it's combinations of things.
Other things, yeah.
So it's like, you know, so deathcore is death, you know, is death metal and hardcore together.
Right.
You know, and then so, but yeah, as far, you know, and like black and thrash is another thing, and that's like, I would say like, you know, like Skeleton Witch and that kind of sound, and you know, but yeah, just after a while it's just like you know, that's often like an on-running joke for a lot of bands, like, oh, we're like post-black grind, industrial,
you guys should
core,
totally,
like
on all your fucking social media, you should literally just put every single name, like, fucking, we're post-glam thrash metal death blackened. What?
You know, like elevator core, like, you know, just saying like ridiculous, like that was a thing for a while.
We're jackalope metal.
Yeah. Yeah. Not to be confused with like deercore or like, you know, whatever, crabcore.
Deercore.
I don't know.
Oh yeah, and like the jackalope metal is like more like methodic, like Dio. Cause, you know, it's like a mythical creature.
Yeah.
Oh no, I like this. That's what you guys should do. Fuck yeah, hell yeah, I like it. That was a good answer. I mean, I didn't think there'd be any like final answer, but I liked that.
Yeah. Well, and that's kind of how I've been just like seeking, and well, more so within the last couple of weeks, I've been going backwards as far as like bands and stuff, because like, I don't know, it's like a lot of the newer stuff that's coming out is like it's almost like, you know, when you hear something like a song or whatever, and like it's almost too perfect, like it's almost like you can tell that it's all like, you know, digitized, and like, you know, there's computers playing it and stuff.
It doesn't sound raw.
Right. Yeah. So I've been doing something kind of different lately, and going back, and I used to do it a lot, is either, you know, get go back to bands I really used to like, or going back to like super iconic, albums for the genre.
Mm-hmm.
More specifically, like death metal. Been listening to a lot of death. Like I actually the other day I sat and listened to like 2 or 3 of their albums, like
the
top
band
to bottom.
Death.
Yeah. Like spiritual healing and stuff that Human, more specifically Human, and like even stuff for that. It just sounds so ahead of its time, and it's all really like. It's all. I mean, I'm sure there was a good amount of digital stuff happening, but for the time, it was like you can hear every note that was played,
right.
especially from a drum standpoint, because a lot of stuff now is processed, and it's all it's samples and stuff, which is fine. Like that's a whole other topic of discussion, because I feel like if you shouldn't put something on an album that you can't play live. Because that kind of and
I agree with that.
Yeah, like it's hard to, I don't know, like once you hear it live, as in comparison, it's kind of hard to hear it, because that like they can't actually do that. Yeah,
right.
But like for the earlier bands, like you had to know how to play it all, and multiple times, multiple takes, and like that's kind of where like the rawness and the attitude of it comes from. Is just that it's just the musicians playing their their instruments, like, and being super proficient at it. So that's just kind of going back to older things, and then because like honestly I wasn't like super big into death when I first heard them. Like I really liked The Sound of Perseverance, like that album, but that was a later one, and it wasn't as, I mean, I don't know, you could say that all of their stuff is influential to a point, but as far as like their earlier stuff, like there's like you can't talk about extreme music without talking about stuff like that, and that's kind of what got me backtracking into things. Because like I don't know, I think it was Clown from Slipknot. I was listening to a podcast with him and Jamie Josta, and he was saying something like, he asked him like if he'd heard something yet, and he was like, there's too much time to say that you've listened to things that you haven't. I was like, I can't count the times that I've, somebody's been like, hey, you listen to this or like this or that, like you'd see it, like, yeah, I've heard it or whatever, but it's like, have you really actually listened to it, and that's what takes me back to it, because like they're inspirational and influential for a reason.
Yeah.
And it got to where kind of how things are now.
Absolutely.
So I don't know. That's just kind of like my take on it.
Hell yeah.
I don't know.
I mean, I've definitely done similar things. I haven't done it in a while, like you said.
Yeah.
One of the bands that I feel, though, agree in terms of when I go back and hear them, I'm like, these guys are way ahead of their time, is fucking Carcass.
Yeah.
I like them a lot.
Well, they went from more of like a gore, like super fast, like almost like gore death.
Yeah.
Kind of like sound. I mean, I guess that death metal, that's kind of what it is, but like they had, a lot of it was really like chaotic and like grindy and stuff, but then they like towards, I think it was like Heartwork that came out,
where they got the best.
Yeah, where they got, it's almost like more melodic.
Yeah.
But yeah, bands like that, like you hear people are like, see t-shirts all the time of like, Venom, like black metal or whatever, like bands like that, or like, it's like, oh, like I've seen that cover everywhere,
right,
and I've never once picked it up or listened to it. You know what I'm saying? Like,
yep.
There's so much of that happens on the daily, or like,
that's kind of how I got into Iron Maiden.
Yeah.
Like pretty much, like I just kept seeing it everywhere and seeing it. Like back then, it was, we had all the VH1 shows, and they would talk about it on all those shows, and I'm like, I should probably check this band out. And now they're like my favorite band.
Yeah. But and that that also goes with the topic and the concept of artwork being so important.
Imagery,
yeah, because they're like I've picked up albums and gotten into bands solely based on the artwork.
Yep,
before.
Me too.
Or like the symbolism that they use and stuff.
How fucking cool is this cover?
Yeah.
Yeah. Absolutely, and that's a perfect segue because we're getting pretty deep here, but I don't know. I want to end it on this one last thing that I had in mind. Just a little fun question, like we did last time. Stranded on a desert island.
Oh fuck.
5 albums.
Oh fuck.
Go. Now here's a caveat. Here's like a little like side like. I wanted to ask you how you want to do this is because there's 2 ways we could go about this. Are we including best of albums or only original albums? No best ofs?
Mm-mm.
Fuck me running. Mm-mm. All right. What about live albums?
Yeah, that's different.
A live album you could do?
Yeah. Because I don't know. Because a lot of times they're playing the best of when they play live, or like when they put out live albums. So they kind of, I don't know. It's up to you, I guess. You can make that call, but like as far as
a live album, okay. Will not include best of because really it's just a mix. But live album they had to make still, like they replayed all those songs that night, and that's the version that on that night. You know what I mean?
Okay.
Like you just said, you play songs a little bit differently live every time. Most bands like that do.
Right.
So that version of that song, you know what I mean? I think we should include live albums.
Okay.
Because there are some like Grammy Award-winning live, not metal or anything, but still.
This
okay,
is true.
So we'll include live albums, but not best ofs.
Yeah. Oh man.
Have fun. Okay, and I also let's just say to keep it to metal, only metal.
Okay. All right. Oh man. God, I would. Well, see, it's hard because like, I'll say this and I'll like bring up a couple of them, but like next week it'll change.
Like I did at the beginning of this one with Mount Rushmore. You can fix it.
Okay, so
I will allow it.
Oh man. Because like then you gotta take. Okay, so 1 to 5 Black Album. Top to bottom. No, just kidding.
Wait.
No.
Bring 5 copies of Metallica's
yes,
Black
I would just
album?
bring, yeah.
Oh, no.
No, that was, no. that was my least favorite Metallica album.
Well, Saint Anger, bro.
Yeah.
And that Lou Reed one.
Yeah. Okay, well, anyway, no, I was just fucking around. I wouldn't actually. God, because I start thinking about like times and stuff. All right, so I'll just say Sacrament, Lamb of God, just because every time I listen to it, I feel like. Here's
what we'll do. We'll go back and forth. So you say your first one and why, and then I'll do mine.
All right. Well, yeah, with that one, I feel like every time I listen to it, I hear either something different or like something that gets me back into it. And every time I start it, I just want to like hear the next song. And the one after that, and that usually leads to hearing the whole thing. So I'd probably say that one.
Okay. My first one, also Lamb of God, but Ashes.
Okay.
When I'll never forget the first time I heard Laid to Rest, because Preston played it for me, and my first reaction was, who are their 2 singers? I didn't think that sound could be made by one person. Like, I heard 2 completely different voices happening at the exact same time, and it fucking blew my mind. Like, I could not believe it. And the intensity of the song Laid to Rest, and then an Hourglass, and Omerta, and even shit, I can't remember the goddamn name of it right now, but the instrumental on that album.
It's just Ashes of the Wake.
Okay, all right. The title track.
Yeah, it's title track.
Okay, yeah, I like. So good. So good. I like all those so much. Honestly, to me, there's only a few, and the main other one will also be on this list, but this is one of the few albums to me that is top to bottom perfect. Like, perfect. Every track, like you just said, when I put it on, I want to hear every track. I want to hear it as a piece. You know what I mean? Like, Yeah,
that's true.
That's definitely my first pick.
Yeah. You could. It was between those two, honestly.
It still gives me goosebumps. Yeah. Sometimes when I listen to it, like literal goosebumps on my arm when I'm getting real into it. So who gives a fuck? And like, feel it.
Hear it live too, especially when you're there. I always really like that song. Hearing that live,
it's incredible. So you're number 2. This is a tough one. I got this from last time you thanked Jamie Josta for the Mount Rushmore idea. I'm gonna go ahead and give thanks to The Office for this idea, because in an episode they played this standing outside when Ryan lit a cheesy pitty on fire in the toaster.
I'm gonna say Nocturnal.
All right.
Black Dahlia Murder.
All right.
Pretty much for the same reasons as Sacrament. It was a big gateway album for me. As far as like really like technical stuff. Plus, like, I don't know, just the whole feel of the album is really cool. I mean, the other problem is like it's really short. I think it's only like 35 minutes. Might be a little bit longer than that. I think it's one of their longest ones, but like, yeah, I don't know, just pretty much the same reason as Sacrament. Like, it just like, I don't know, every song on it is, top to bottom. I just feel like it moves really nicely, and it just has, I don't know, it's just sick. I don't know.
Oh, yeah.
I always really liked it, and I wouldn't mind hearing it
as one of your only 5 for the rest of your life?
If I had to, yeah. I mean, it's hard because they have like 8 albums, so I feel like I would have to put one on there. Between that one and probably either like Ritual or Everblack.
Okay.
I think.
So Nocturnal. Yeah. You're number 2. All right. My number 2 is another album, the second album that I think is top to bottom perfect. And because my influences stem from the old stuff, old metal, I have to have a variety on this list.
That's fair.
So my second pick album that I think is top to bottom perfect, Appetite for Destruction. I need
GNR.
Appetite for Destruction by Guns N' Roses. Interesting fact about that album is that it came out in like 87, didn't have a number 1 song until 89. So like, and I heard them talk about it in an interview once. They were like literally like that album sat on the shelves and didn't sell for like 2 years until someone finally like played Sweet Child of Mine or something like that on the radio somewhere.
Yeah.
And picked it up. Like, you imagine?
Seems like I heard about that, but
can you imagine though, sitting around in 1988 and like you just thought the cover was cool, so you picked it up at the store, you take it home, you're like, Jesus fucking Christ!
Yeah.
And then you like try to tell everybody about it, and everybody says you're full of shit. And then like the next year they get giant.
Oh yeah.
You know, there's somebody out there with that story. Like,
yeah.
That would be nuts. But no, that album to me, yeah.
Didn't they put out a full straight live version of that or not?
I don't believe so.
Okay.
If they did, I'd like to hear it.
Seems like that's something they would have done.
I don't know. Maybe. Oh. But it's just the whole. I don't know. That album just had a gigantic influence on me. I was super, super into Guns N' Roses, and I watched a lot. Like, they were one of the ones I watched a lot of live performances of and stuff like that. Because 10 years ago, I never thought I'd have an opportunity to see them live. That was just out of the question. You know what I mean? That would never happen.
Yeah.
And I think that was part of it. That was part of their mystique. You know what I mean? They were like one of the ones that I missed, and so they were like unreachable. You know what I mean? Like they were on that like unreachable mystic level to me for some reason because they were all still alive, but they'd never play together again. You know what I mean? Like
yeah.
It wasn't like a Bon Scott situation where it's like, well, damn, or fucking Randy Rhoads, but yeah, that and that album obviously is their best. I don't think really anybody argues that one very much.
Just the hits on it.
It pretty much is a best of album, like, but that's just their first one.
Yeah,
it is their first one. And it's just non-stop gold, track to track. Yeah, it had a giant influence on me. I fucking listened to that album so many times. Yeah, so that would be my number 2.
Okay.
Number 3.
I'm gonna say it's hard because there's 2 of them that really stand out of the 5 that they have. I'm pretty sure. And we're going backwards a little bit from that inspiration from your last one, because it kind of got me thinking, like, all right, well, there's current ones that I would add, but like, what's one that really, like, every time it's on, it just, like, there's something about it. It's between Great Southern Trendkill and Far Beyond Driven.
Really?
Yeah.
Not Vulgar Display of Power? Damn.
And I won't discredit it, and I won't say it, because
if I would have put them on mine, that would be mine.
Yeah.
Personally.
I just, like, I think it was more so Far Beyond Driven than any of the other ones that, like, for some reason, just, like, the whole feel of that record is just pissed. Like, it's just a really, really heavy album. I think especially Great Southern Trendkill, which is why, like, that's, it's just aggressive. Like, yeah. Especially both of those. But I think probably, I don't know, they both got, I'd say probably Far Beyond Driven.
Hell yeah.
Not to discredit,
I don't think we're discrediting it.
Yeah.
By not putting it on our
list. Yeah. Yeah, I'm just like, there's like, I don't know, it came across at a time in my life where, like, I was just looking for, like, all I really heard from them was either Cowboys from Hell or Walk. Mm-hmm. And then as soon as you start Far Beyond Driven, it just hits you in the face, like, and pretty much up until the end of it, like, it it has that same effect to it, and I don't know, I just feel like that would be good motivation if I was like, trying to build my house or something like that. If I was, like, stuck on this island somewhere, like, let me put on 5 Minutes Alone and fucking
that'll do it.
Chop down some trees and, like, I don't know. So yeah.
Fuck yeah. All right.
Sacrament, Nocturnal, Great Southern, or Far Beyond Driven.
All right.
So far.
My number 3. Man, now we're getting difficult because I'm running out of spots.
Yeah. That's why I hate, like. And, like, I don't know if I'd put any of these in, like, any specific order of, like, importance or anything like that, but...
Yeah,
you
definitely
know what I mean?
not.
Like, I wouldn't...
This isn't, like, order of importance. Yeah. No, these are just the 5
what you would, yeah.
that I would... if I could choose any 5, because Jesus Christ, there's so many critical ones. All right, I guess, though...
It's hard because, like, you don't want all just one. Like, I could easily pick, like, 5
5 from the past, 5. Oh yeah, 5 genre. Yeah. Yep. Oh man. All right. So I guess. And
it's hard too because, like, you don't want to pick one that's like 20 minutes long, like 25 minutes long.
Yeah.
And it's like. From a hypothetical, theoretic, whatever standpoint.
I guess the one I'd have to put on next, though, and I would go for the live album on this one. Yeah, I would go with Live After Death, Iron Maiden.
I was wondering if I was thinking you were gonna say, like, Power Slave or something.
Yeah, I think I would go with Live After Death, though, just because that way I get more
Yeah.
And it's a 2 CD. It's so I get the double.
Fucking.
It's kind of a cheap move.
Yeah.
But at the same time, it is like, it's one of the best ever recorded live albums, I think. It's definitely regarded as such, I think, by a lot of people. But mainly, you know, so that album in particular doesn't have a giant influence on me, but the band in general, I don't know if I've said this on here before or not, but like, I did, when we're talking about CDs, and I was at Best Buy, and I was standing there, and I was like, I'm getting an Iron Maiden album today. And I called my uncle, and he was like, get Peace of Mind if they have it, or Power Slave. And they didn't have either, but they had Number of the Beast, so I got that one. And, because it had Run to the Hills, and I knew I had heard that song. And I was like, alright, well, at least I know one. And I fucking listened to that album so many goddamn times. That's the one that solidified them as my favorite band probably of all time. Was that first one when I got it, Number of the Beast. God, because it has so much going on it. Like, you got so many different sounds from it. You get the fucking intense and creepy and heavy. Yeah. So I'd have to go with getting as much Iron Maiden as I can on Live After Death. And they sound incredible live.
I might even trade Sacrament for Philadelphia.
Oh, that's smart.
You know,
because that's a great live album.
Dude, I'm saying, like, might be one of, like, in terms of, like, heavy, like, metal live albums.
Yeah,
that one always sticks out to me.
You know what's fucked up too is a live album was released with Wrath from the Wrath tour.
That's true.
As a double disc.
Yeah.
Nobody ever talks about it.
That one's pretty good too.
That's one of my favorite recordings of Laid to Rest.
Yeah.
Because on my system it hits louder than any other recording.
Yeah.
So I love that one. But no, yeah, Philadelphia's, yeah.
Plus, like, just the range of songs that's on it. Like, playing anything from, you know, not really, because I guess at the time it was just before Sacrament came out.
Was it? I think it was after.
That was before, because they played Now You Got Something to Die For and Hourglass and stuff on it. So that was, like, during their Ashes
Walk
cycle.
With Me in Hell's not on it?
No, not on Philadelphia.
Oh. I thought it was. So you would switch that out for that?
I might have to.
All right.
But
what's your number 4 then?
Oh, man, as far as...
I think I got mine.
Well, all right. Well, what's yours then? I gotta think about it a little more.
All right. We'll jump to mine real quick. So what did I just say? Iron Maiden?
Yeah.
So I got Lamb of God, Guns N' Roses, and Iron Maiden. Right? So my number 4...
I
thought I had it.
You could throw one in there that's not metal at all related.
No, I'm saying all metal.
Okay, all right.
I'm saying
we'll
stick to metal.
with it. All right.
You know what? In here we'll do like fucking Watch Mojo does. We'll do like honorable mentions before we do number 5.
Oh man, that's gonna be longer than the list.
No, because we can just throw anything we want on it.
All right.
It'll be easy. So it might be longer. Yeah.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah, the list might be longer. All right, so then my number 4 then would be fuck it. Are You Dead Yet? Children of Bodom.
Yeah.
I mean, it's my favorite Bodom album, but above that, it's definitely one of my favorite metal albums. And don't get me, because I could go live with them too. Live at Stockholm. That's a good fucking album.
That is. Wow, yeah, I forgot about that. They had, like...
Yeah, I'm going to go live at Stockholm.
And, like, solos on it, which you don't...
I had Lake Bodom on it, too.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm going to go live at Stockholm for Bodom, then. Yeah.
That's a good one.
Because it's got Lake Bodom and Hate Crew Death Roll. Because... the main reason Are You Dead Yet is my favorite album by them is because of the sentimental value.
It's the
first one that got me into them, but my next ones up would probably be like Follow the Reaper, and then like Hate Crew, Death Row, and Hate Breeder probably.
Mm-hmm. I'd put not necessarily on my list, but as far as like their albums, I'd put Blood Drunk.
If you were to use an album
if I were, yeah. More so just for like the reasons that you're saying. Just it was the first one that got me into them and stuff.
Honorable mention.
Yeah, but definitely Follow the Reaper and Hate Crew, Death Roll.
Yeah,
are next.
Really great top to bottom albums.
Yeah,
really great.
All right.
What's your number 4?
I want to say Agony from Flesh God.
Oh, one I've never heard much of. Hell yeah.
Like it. So I got. Well, first. All right. So let me back up. First time I heard him was. I'm pretty sure it was back when Oracles came out with their first album, and like at the time I hadn't really heard much like it.
Mm-hmm.
It was really like it was fast, like it was really fast, and like the singing and like some of the guitar work on that is just like I don't know, it just gets me. I don't know.
Hell yeah.
And then but yeah, Agony, because like that one. And like I would say, what puts it above, like let's say like Labyrinth or like King even is, I don't know. To me, it's just like the way that the songs are, and just like the whole aggressive feel behind it. It's just I don't know. It's fairly short too. I think it's only like 40 minutes long or whatever. But like it matches the like the super technical element of like tech death with a lot of like string like symphonic elements and stuff, but it doesn't do it in a way that's like it's like too much of one thing. Like there's too much orchestra to it, or there's too much like what I'm saying. It's like it's a solid balance of the two, and I don't know. I that whole album just gets me like just hype.
Hell yeah.
I guess.
Hell yeah.
Like to put it simply.
So all right. So that's so far my top 4 is Ashes of the Wake, Lamb of God, Appetite for Destruction, Guns N' Roses, Live After Death, Iron Maiden, and Live at Stockholm, Children of Bodom. Mm-hmm. And what's yours?
Philadelphia.
Lamb of God.
Yeah. Nocturnal. Flesh God, Agony, and
Pantera.
Yeah, that's right. Far Beyond Driven.
Honorable mentions, I would, 2 we already mentioned. What'd you say? Blood Drunk and what the one I say? Vulgar Display of Power.
Yeah.
I'd say another honorable mention from me would be what album is it? A Megadeth album, but I can't remember which one it is. Hold on.
Oh man, now I'm thinking.
Do an honorable mention.
I put both. Oh man, I don't even know if I want like. So I feel like one. Well, I don't. I feel like one of these has to make the list, but there's still so many others.
Countdown to Extinction, Megadeth.
Yeah.
There we go. That's the one I wanted.
That's the one with Holy Wars and.
No.
Or that's
Hanger. That's the one with Hanger 18, isn't it?
Yeah.
Rest in peace. Rest in peace.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't think it makes my top 5, but it's definitely because there's Agony of Aggression on there or whatever, or Angry Again, stuff like that. I think so.
That is, yeah.
Symphony.
I'm not the biggest Megadeth fan, but
they had definitely had a big influence on me.
Yeah.
I liked them a lot. Because to me, by the time I got into this stuff, to me, they were the Metallica that didn't sell out. So I was always kind of leaning more towards them.
Yeah.
Yeah, so they definitely get an honorable mention. Fucking, what did you say last time? Oh, come on. Not Fury of Our Maker Hand, but...
Last Kind Words.
Last Kind Words, Devil Driver. Man. That's definitely got to be an honorable mention. Cause I don't think it would end up on the list, but God, I love that album top to bottom. Their first three are just brutality.
Yeah.
Love it. So my favorite drumming pretty much ever. Some of it, at least.
I'd put either and or Hate and Holy War from Dirt as Murder.
Oh, okay.
Both of those together, just like, I don't know, they're like more so recently with their last one. It's called Dear Desolation. But yeah, something about like their structure and like their whole vibe of like on those two just really like, I don't know, like I think it's more so with like a lot of the guitar work on it and stuff is really cool. It puts like a really like heavy like cool atmosphere behind everything, and like a lot of their songs are just, you know, just gets your head banging.
Fuck yeah.
I guess. It's the simplest way to put it.
It's the best way to put it.
Yeah.
All right.
There's so many more.
Yeah.
There's so many more. And I know I'm forgetting one that I'm gonna like kick myself for later.
Well, we can fix it next time if you want. Oh yeah. Tribute Ozzy Osbourne. The live album.
Yeah.
With Randy Rhoads. I would definitely put that as an honorable mention. That one, I've listened to that album tons and tons and tons of times, and it's fantastic. The guitar work on there is unbelievable. Mm-hmm. To me, the person today that reminds me a lot of his style and stuff like that is Alexi Laiho, which is a big reason why Children of Bodom's on the list for that guitar work.
I could definitely hear that.
Yeah.
That's, yeah.
You got your number 5? You ready?
I was trying to think about what I've been listening to recently. Oh man, I'm gonna go a little left to center on this one, and I'm gonna say probably Train of Thought by Dream Theater.
Oh.
That one. Well, for starters, it's on my drum set. It's on my drum kit. It's on my my snare drum. As next to, oddly enough, next to Nocturnal. Not like the cover, like the design of it, but yeah, like it's like I remember. I'm pretty sure I was like, I don't know. I had to have been in like 5th or 6th grade, I think. Or no, maybe it was a little later. Maybe it was like 8th grade. Might have been 8. I don't know. Anyway, well, like a while ago, when I was younger, like first getting into more like progressive, that like kind of style of music, like that was kind of the first one that I heard that really just kind of like stopped me, and it was a lot of it had to do with the drum work on it. Mike Portnoy is a lot of the reason that I wanted to learn double bass stuff, because I remember. I don't know. There's a long story behind this, but
tell the long story.
So like my dad was always pretty into them, and but like this one is a little bit more. It was a little more modern than a lot of their other stuff at the time, because it was I don't know. It seemed to have a bit of a darker tone to it, which I was trying to listen to it at that point in time, but. I just remember my dad had this it was like a 2-set DVD it was like an instructional DVD where he was pretty much like breaking down a lot of the songs from it and stuff, and just kind of like his like double bass work on it and stuff, and I always thought it was really cool. And but yeah, as far as that album goes, when I heard it, I hadn't really ever heard anything that matched it. Like it was like just it's long as fuck too. I think it's like an hour long.
Damn.
So it's really, really long, but it like there are songs on it that are just like just the movements and like how much of it is going on at one time, but it all, you know, I don't know. It's like I feel like I could, you know, kind of the same thing with Sacrament, but more so. Just like I hear different things on it that I didn't hear the first time, just about every time I listen to it, and so I feel like that would be a good, like, in terms of like heavier. I mean, I don't know. I'm sure, like I said, I'm sure I'm gonna think of like 5 or 6 more that could easily top those 5, but for the time being, like that one,
that's
I would
your
say
one for now. That's where I'm at right now. I will shout out a quick honorable mention. Painkillers, Judas Priest is one I just thought of for an honorable mention.
Good call.
Definitely. Also, maybe, well, Desert Island album. No. All right. So my number 5, and I hate to do this. I really do, because it's cliche as fuck. But I can't deny it. Metallica, Master of Puppets. Like, that is my first CD player, alright, was a fucking silver Walkman. Sony Walkman. Little silver one. It had like the bubbly W on it, the little tiny one that had like the foil underneath, so like, you know, looked all sweet when you moved it in the sunlight.
Mm-hmm.
Fucking street style around the back headphones. That's what they called it, street style. Yep. And I listened to Master of Puppets, and that's the first CD that I listened to it so much the lasers burned scratches into the disc to the point where I had to get a new one. Like, I literally burned it to death just from listening to it so much. There was one time where we drove up to my cabin, and it just over and over and over every song. I didn't play a song over and over. It was the whole album top to bottom, nonstop, over and over. Like, that was the first thing I'd ever heard like that grabbed me, like that heavy. Like, by then I was already into some of the other things, some Rage Against the Machine, stuff like that, but that was like the first one that fucking was like, hey, like, Master, fucking. Yeah, that really set me down the path. Probably laid a lot of the groundwork for why I lean towards more thrash metal and things of that nature. More like, and especially when you consider especially the intro of Battery and fucking Leper Messiah.
Yeah.
And a couple. Damn it, I can't remember what they're called right now. But a couple other songs on the album that are a little bit more on the melodic side. It's probably what laid a lot of the groundwork for that for me. So, yeah, I'd say I'd have to bring it. I have to bring Master of Puppets.
What's that?
Love that album.
The Thing That Should Not Be.
Yeah.
Welcome Home. Sanitarium. Yeah. Damage Inc. Oh, man.
Yeah.
That's... That's a good call.
I'd buy that one a couple times because of how much, and I took care of that CD too to ensure that it wouldn't get any external scratches or anything, and the laser just from over and over and over. Like,
I'm gonna put another honorable mention. For pretty much the same reason, and it's the only CD I've ever done it with. It was a burned copy of it too. And I don't know. I wouldn't necessarily call it metal or anything like that, but it's in vein of it, I guess, as Meteora from Linkin Park.
In the vein, yeah.
You know, it paved the way for a lot of bands. I feel like with that kind of sound, like it's a little more, I guess, like alternative
rock
in a way, yeah. But yeah, I mean.
But it was heavier than most.
Yeah. And like, I don't know,
it's a good album.
Yeah. It's one of those that, you know, God, even they actually had like a really good live album with that too. It was called Live in Texas.
Nice.
That was like them pretty much between their first 2 albums, like playing songs off both of them.
Wait. What was your number 5?
Train of Thought.
Wait. I'm gonna give you an opportunity real quick because I'm blown away right now. There's no Slipknot on this list?
Oh man, because they got Iowa too.
Because I feel like,
man, they got volume. Oh shit.
I feel like they would have been on the list for you.
Then there's that first one too, the self-titled.
You don't want to swap any out. You can swap one out if you want.
Oh man.
I just feel like
about Iowa.
I don't know, because we've only I don't know how many we've talked about this a lot, but never really gotten this deep into it. But from my perspective, I feel like Slipknot has had a bigger influence on you than Pantera.
Yeah.
From my perspective, okay. I could be wrong.
All right, so.
It just shocks me now that I think about it, because you said Linkin Park. I'm like, who else is kind of like them? Oh wait.
Okay, so all right. Can I just put their first three and on
no greatest hits, motherfucker.
Can I make my own greatest hits album of
you can't just make mixes of our favorite bands.
Bring a mixtape to an island and just be you feel 20 songs on that bitch. 22 if you cut off instrumentals and
get a data DVD, put the whole goddamn catalog on there.
Yeah.
You could put every band's catalog of every band we listed, including the honorable mentions, on one of those things.
All right, so I'm gonna take Far Beyond Driven off there, and I'm gonna put Volume 3 on there.
Oh, cool.
It's between Volume 3 and Iowa, but Volume 3 was the album that got me changed just about everything for me.
I mean, especially for a drummer.
Oh, dude.
Because that's what gets me about that band. That's my favorite part about Slipknot is their entire percussion section. The fact that they have a percussion section. Nobody really goes in as deep on those sounds as they do.
Yeah.
And I like that. I've always appreciated that. Set them apart. I like stuff that's percussion driven, I guess.
Well, for one, there's no other, now, 8-piece band from fucking Iowa. That's what's so crazy about them. It's when you consider, and they've talked about it on interviews and stuff, is when you consider they're from Iowa.
Yeah.
And they're a 9-piece band with 3 percussion sections.
Yeah.
There's no way that should have worked.
Not really.
But they're still one of the, Iowa's been out for 20 years.
If our conversation earlier had been about bands that have broken the ceiling, they would definitely be mentioned.
Yeah.
Yeah. They're still big.
And I wouldn't say it's necessarily my favorite album from them, but their last one that they put out, Volume 5, or the Gray Chapters, whatever it's called.
Mm-hmm.
That still, when you consider there's a chance, there's a point in time where that album might not have existed.
Right.
That might not have happened. If that was their last album, I'd be satisfied with it.
Hell yeah.
Just because it's a good mix of all of their their whole style and everything, but there's it's a really honest album for them, and at a time where not to go on a tangent about why I still think they're the greatest fucking band in the world, the way it sounds, but there's bands that I favor above them and better than them, but Iowa, you can't talk about super heavy albums, just dark and gritty, disgusting sounding albums without talking about Iowa. Yeah. Or even their first one,
Yeah.
Yeah, no, you're right. I definitely should have added at least. I don't know why I wasn't thinking of those.
See, that's one of the ones I knew you'd think of as soon as I turn off the mic. I was I should mention this.
Man, I can't.
I should mention this. Fuck yeah.
Yeah, I remember seeing the video for Duality.
Yeah.
Hearing the song and just being what is this? It's so just I don't know.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Hell yeah. All right. Awesome. Well, Honestly, that took way longer than I was anticipating. Yeah. I thought that would be like a 10-minute thing.
Oh, boom. All right, well.
This is an extra episode.
We're
deep. I think we should call it.
Yeah.
Because this is going to take fucking ever to load. Hell yeah. All right. Hope you enjoyed. Till next time.